which you will hear about sometime later on after we're done with Sunday Lana. But I'm here to introduce Janet Johnson. She is the founder of Strategy Nook LLC, a boutique management consulting and coaching practice focused on helping individuals and companies align their strategies and brands to boost performance and growth. She is also the owner of Life with Jan, a health and wellness coaching community, and the creator of the Sunday Lana and Wellness 360 life event brands. With over 20 years of experience in project management, consulting, and coaching, Janet is known for her ability to foster relationships, solve problems, and guide others towards transformation. Her passion for coaching stems from helping individuals and teams achieve breakthroughs in both professional and personal growth. Janet is a versatile project manager, business and life coach, and wellness advocate, specializing in stress management and process improvement. She's also a philanthropist, dedicating time to community service through her nonprofit Sunny Plains Foundations, which supports mental health initiatives across the Caribbean and the U.S. She serves on multiple boards, including the Educational Foundation for Children's Care International. She holds an MS in management with dual emphasis in project leadership and organizational leadership from Regis University, along with certifications in project management, agile coaching, and life and wellness coaching. She is a member of the International Coach Federation. With no further ado, put your hands together and welcome Miss Janet Johnson.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here with you today to share a holistic approach to emotional intelligence that's been honed. Screen? Presentation on the screen? Slide 1. The presentation, the PowerPoint presentation for this chat? No, the other PowerPoint presentation. Fantastic, thank you. All right, so you can see there that we're talking about emotionally empowered, and this talk is about transform your relationships and transform your life. So I'm here to share a holistic approach to emotional intelligence that I've been honing over many years by combining my business strategy and wellness coaching. I've been able to achieve breakthroughs. This approach is not only fostering project alignment and successful delivery, but also enhances relationships, strengthens teams, and supports the achievement of their personal goals. So what I've found in this process is, and my thought really is, people run projects. So if I'm going into an organization to create organizational leadership and having them embrace change management, I have to understand people. I have to understand how to be aware of their thoughts, their ideas, be able to understand conflicting needs between departments. Organizational politics is sometimes quite a challenge. And I'm usually reporting to the executive team and moving projects downwards through the organization. So I have to be able to understand that. I'm blessed that when I went to school, I was able to learn emotional intelligence and change management, which has helped me transform all kinds of things. So this is what the agenda looks like for today. Slide. Okay. I'll introduce why emotional empowerment matters, define emotional intelligence, explore self-awareness, highlight relationship management, mental problem solving, address the benefits of forgiveness. You know, forgiveness is a big piece in terms of emotional intelligence on my scale that I added to what humanity has done, but we have to learn to do vertical and horizontal relationships. So, and that will anchor why emotional intelligence matters. So what can you expect today? A lot of slides. And I'm saying that because I want to engage you in listening, thinking, and seeing the content, because it's not something that you're going to easily remember. And I figure that if I can catch your brain in 3 different ways, it's going to be more digestible. You will be asked to do a few exercises. Hands-on also helps when you're engaged within the presentation. And you will be asked to contemplate ideas. So getting you involved, we're going to have a Q&A in between as well, because the more involvement you have and the more you put yourself into the presentation, it will really, really stick with you. So being empowered emotionally enables us to recognize and meet people where they are. And that takes in physical, mental, emotional, relational, spiritual, and financial. So we can assist in fulfilling others' needs, even if it is only with a smile, a kind word, to move their day along in love and compassion. This brings me to an important story that I want to share with you. There was this guy, and we'll call him Jack. So Jack, he wanted me to do Bible study with him. He's been around the church for many years, moving from between different churches, trying to get unstuck. And we used to just hang out as a group at lunchtime and study together, and he would be part of that group. So after COVID, he came back to church, and he says, Janet, can you give me Bible study? Do you guys still do it? I said, sure. But let me check with Pastor first, because Pastor was dealing with him on another issue. And if Pastor says that, I can go ahead, I'll do it. And so Pastor said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So when I started asking him, what I do with people is, before I try to provide a solution, I find out where they are in their journey, what are their pain points. There's no sense in giving somebody a solution that does not fit. Everybody needs a good fit. You know, we're all created differently. We digest information differently. So Jack, after meeting with him on 3 different Sabbath afternoons, I realized that he had a challenge. And so I talked to him about the challenge he had, and he agreed to allow me to work with him on that challenge first. And so when I got him unstuck from that challenge while giving him the Bible study, starting to unlock. Now, studying with a male is never something that I do one-on-one. So I'd asked one of the elders to go with me and do what I was going to do. So what I found that I had to do that would meet his needs was to just coach him. Take him outdoors and just coach, grab a bite with him, socialize with him. In a year, Jack got baptized. After my brother, the elder, and I worked with him week after week. What am I trying to say? That when a church comes together to give Bible study and use the same process for different people that have different needs, it doesn't work. And if it does work and they do it from an emotional perspective, it doesn't stick. We're going into year 2 now, and this gentleman has taken on another guy to study with, because I get the hardcore kind of people to study with, because I'm also a director of the Nedley program. So I can look at people's emotional intelligence, I can look at their stress management, I can look at their mental health and decide which are they stuck because of these reasons. And so we'll talk about the other gentleman in a few minutes. But when I got this gentleman to work with, I said, okay, I'm assigning you to him. I know you just got baptized, but I'll work with you and work with him. So you take the lead, and if you need me, I'll help you. Today, he's in the hospital with his mom. She's sick. And Jack is ministering to the hospital staff, right? Patients, his family, because his mom is projected to die in about 3 to 6 months. And so he's emotionally well enough to manage that. So that's just the backdrop behind that story of how we meet people where they are once we become emotionally intelligent. So what is emotional intelligence? Remember, we're reading together, so although you're hearing me, I want your eyes to fix, slide please, your eyes to be fixed on the reading so that you can digest it in different ways. Slide. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and influence emotions, both your own and those of others. It is a vital aspect of personal and professional success, helping individuals navigate life's challenges, build meaningful relationships, and lead effectively. So emotional intelligence is more than just being aware of your emotions. It's about using the awareness to guide your thinking and actions in positive ways. Now let's get to this other guy. What will we call him? James. I don't like to use your proper name, so we use James. So one of the things that I need to tell you about is that being aware is not enough. There's a step further than going aware, and I'll give you an example. James is an alcoholic. He's been an alcoholic since he was about 16 years old, gotten into trouble, been all over the place. And when Jack got baptized, he stood up and said that he wanted to know God and be baptized as well. So I went over to him and I gave him tissue. He was crying, and then when we had lunch, he started saying that he needs help. So I got the pastor and I said, hey, this guy says that he's been harassed, and can you come pray for him? So long story short, I was given him again, and I turned him over to Jack, and we talked about that story again. So this guy is emotionally aware like none other. And he will tell you, I know, I just can't give it up. Very, very aware. So being aware does not unlock you. You have to take the extra step, which is getting engaged with what is it that you need to do. Being aware alone does not unlock you, doesn't make you move forward. And so we have the example here that I've shared. It takes more than that, and we're going to learn some of that today. So I'm going to walk you through, slide, the emotional intelligence pyramid. And so these are 12 skills. And the emotional intelligence pyramid is a structured approach to developing your emotional intelligence, guiding you from foundational self-awareness to advanced leadership. And so when you look at the leadership piece at the top, you will see that's where empowering others. You're empowered now, and you begin to lead people through that path of empowerment. And so you're guiding them, and until they get to the leadership skills, they don't just sit there. Emotional intelligence is something you continue to learn as you go through the challenges and the different things that face you every day, and you test yourself. How did I get through this? And we'll talk more about that as we go along. The pyramid is designed to build on each level, ensuring that the skill you develop at the base support more complex abilities at the top. And so today we're going to look at self-awareness, which is the first skill on the foundation that you see at the bottom. And then we're going to jump up, skipping everything in between the personal growth and the social skills, and we're going to hit relationship management. That's interpersonal effectiveness. So that's where the relationships come in. But we're skipping over it today. And over time, I'll be creating events for these building blocks to make it wholesome. But right now, we just want to deal with relationships because this is what this empowerment is about. I'll talk a little bit about problem solving, but not do much else than that. So let's dig in. The next thing that I'll do, slide, is I'm going to look at the hierarchy of needs, which is what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is what we do every day. We eat, we want security, we want friendships, we want respect from others, and that unlocks our purpose and the meaning we have in life that we call self-actualization. So I want to compare them and show you how it works. And if you don't have some of these skills in terms of emotional intelligence, it gets you stuck at some of these levels. So the emotional intelligence is not separate from the pyramid hierarchy of needs, which we talked about just now on the left side. Instead, it is essential set to support a person at every stage of their development. We just talked about that. A lack of emotional skills can hinder progression through the hierarchy and even cause regression to lower levels. So what this is saying is, if you lack certain things, you can slide backwards, because when you, for example, have belonging, which is the third section on the hierarchy of needs, you don't have friendship, you don't have family, and let's say you have a need, you can drop right back down to psychological because you can't get food, water, breathing, and so forth. But if you have emotional intelligence to scale you up, you can reach self-actualization. And I'm going to give you a few examples. If you look at the foundation at the bottom, which is the level 1, you will see that a high degree of self-awareness is what you get from this section, and that allows others to understand their own needs, even at the basic level of psychological and safety requirements, which is in the 2 levels at the bottom. How do they know what their needs are? Because if you're self-aware, you're going to understand that you have these needs. Those are so basic: food and security. Very, very basic, so you'll understand that. And you will do what it takes to make sure you can survive and move past that. I'll give you one more example. And level 3, let's look at social skills. Strong emotional intelligence is particularly critical at the love and belonging stage, which we see at level 3. And an ability to emphasize or manage relationships can result in a lack of social bonds, halting further growth. We need people. We need people around us. We're social beings. We're created that way. And so we find when people are lonely and they don't get the need they want, or hugs are important. You know, it's very healing. If they can't get those conversations, they can't get people around them, they usually end up a little bit depressed and can get mental illness. So I hope just these 2 examples give you an idea of how these 2 blend. If anyone wants this slide or any of these slides as I go forward, ask. I'm willing to share them with you, and I'm willing to give you an exhaustive list of what this is in terms of connecting these 2 pyramids together. Just ask, and you'll get more information on that as we move forward. So, what is self-awareness? Self-awareness, next slide please. Self-awareness is a foundation of emotional intelligence. It is about your own emotions, which is essential before you can manage them or truly understand others. And so you're seeing 6 segments here. And I know it's a little warm in here, so feel free to take out your emotion intelligence wheel and just kind of do that, right? It's kind of warm in here. So I have to try to, I'm going to try to get my voice up and down just to keep you awake from, how warm you are. So before I start talking about these 3 at the top and the 3 at the bottom, which is 6 different segments, I want you to know that there are barriers surrounding emotional awareness, much like mental illness. And what is that? Many people are afraid to admit that they do not have their lives and circumstances under control. And so they refuse to step into the direction that will help their mindset and relationships. This keeps them stuck. As Christians, one of the things we do is, "Happy Sabbath, how are you?" "I'm fine, everything's good, God is good." And they're suffering. without help. And how do we now become aware that we should draw a little bit closer? Because let me just change my thinking of what I was going to do. I worked with the kids in the school this week. And I will tell you that the kindergarten kids, you can look in their eyes and you can see their emotion. Along the way, as adults, we've lost that. We've had this hard barrier that we just get so stoic. And I'm guilty. But at the core, if you spend time with someone often enough because you care, they will begin to talk to you. And if there's somebody has a barrier up, just keep loving them despite everything else that you see, and they will eventually share with you. Next slide, please. I'm going to go through the first stage, which is recognizing your emotions. Recognizing your emotions is being able to identify what you're feeling at the moment. So, how do we do that? We're going to look at this in a few minutes. This is the emotional intelligence wheel, and we're going to do an exercise on it. But one of the actions that you can take is to take a pause during the day to check in with yourself and label the emotions you're experiencing. So I'm going to move to the next slide, which is understanding triggers. Understanding your triggers is knowing what situation or thoughts cause certain emotions. So can anybody tell me what a trigger is? And we're not talking about a gun, right? So what a trigger is, I have a habit of certain things. And my response to those certain things, let's say I've had that since childhood, right? And I'll share a story with you. I shared it Friday night, so I'm sharing it again. I was a little girl growing up with a sister that was 3 years older than I was. And she couldn't move me, boy. She couldn't move me. No matter what she said, I didn't care. And I kept saying to her, say all you want, but don't touch me. I'm okay until you get up in my face and decide that you're going to war with me. I don't care what you say. Sticks and stones don't break my bones. You know those kids' things? And one day she just couldn't take being ignored anymore, and she did me that in my chest. Faster than anything else, she was on the ground. That was my trigger. Don't touch me. Don't touch me was a thing. I grew up with keeping boys as my friends, not girls, because I'm sorry, little ladies in here, I thought that growing up girls were petty, and they wanted the attention of the boys and would do anything, and I wasn't into it. It was my thing. I want your bike, give it to me. And I'm pretty assertive. I'll say, hey, give me a bike, I want to ride it. Little girl coming up, of course I got their bike. I would play scrimmage, kick football and all that. But as I got older, they decided, and I started bursting out, they decided, she's really a girl. And one day, remember I said, don't touch me? I was probably about 10 years old. And one day, took their bicycle, went out the road, and I started riding, and we all rode out there. And back in the days, you could leave the door open and just do whatever and just go in and out. So I jumped on their bicycle, and I rode out to my house, and they all drank water, and I'm ready to pull up the door, and one of the guys, he was left behind. And he started to move beside me, in front of me. Now, don't tell anyone this story, although I know it's been recorded. He started to move towards me. You remember those geometry sets from back then? He got a compass in his arm. I was only 10 years old. Don't touch me. I told him, don't touch me. Now, when we went back to his house, we all went out, and they laughed at him. They said, I told you. She said, don't touch her. So that's my trigger. And I had to learn over the years that it's not the right thing to do. Fix your mind, whatever caused you to not want people. There are healthy ways of people touching you. So once I became aware that this was not a healthy habit, I had to change my behavior and not let that trigger me. Does that make sense? We all have triggers. I gave you a really, really bad case that I had to learn through. All right, so what we do when we figure out our triggers is you reflect on a recent situation. Well, this one was years ago, where you had strong emotional reaction. What triggered it? I gave you the example. How did you respond? Eventually, I fixed my bad behavior. Now, understanding your triggers allow you to anticipate and manage your awareness, manage your emotions. And so, no one would talk to me, so I gave up a story. All right, so next slide, we're going to look at self-reflection. Self-reflection is taking time to think about your thoughts, feelings, and actions. How often do we do that? Suggested that you set 10 minutes each day to reflect on how your emotions influence your actions and decisions. This is something I have grown to do as long as I can remember every night before I go to bed. I want to know, Lord, show me. Show me today if there's anything I need to change. And he does. And I reflect, maybe I should have done this different on a project. Well, this one didn't go too well. What do I do next? And so one of the things that I will do after this recording is to go through it and say, what could I have done better? Because we're not perfect, right? And so we continue learning through self-reflection, and we grow. But if we can't admit that we're not perfect, and we can't see that every step of the way, no matter how good this thing is, I am human and I'm living in this life. So therefore, I can still improve. And so I'm a lifelong learner, and I pray that you guys will find joy in that as you realize how important emotional intelligence is. So on the next slide, we're going to look at assessing your strengths and weaknesses. Can everyone here say they know what their strengths and weaknesses are? If not, here's how you can begin. You can make a list of your top strengths and weaknesses. Think about how your emotions play a role in that. So you have a strength in something and you think it's your strength, but when you look at your emotions that go towards it, you realize, yeah, I'm strong in this, but it's really a bad thing. I don't need to have that strength. I need to kind of tone it down. So all this exercise is showing you that sometimes what we think is our strength is really our weakness because it's something that brings you down. I spoke to a little girl recently. She probably is not more than 10. And she said, I don't care what anybody does. If they touch me, I'm going to fight them. If they hit me, I'm going to hit them back. Very, very intelligent in the way she reasons about not being abused or taken advantage of, and she was going to protect herself and protect her friends. And she thought that that was a good thing, and I sat her down and talked to her about what would Christ do, and they harassed Christ all the way. They stuck around on his head. She said, really? I said, yeah. They spat on him. And you see, he died first. I had to take her down that path. And she says, okay, so she's considering it, but it's going to be a little journey for her. So on the next slide, we're going to look at impact on others. Understanding how your emotion affects those around you. Do you know that you could cause somebody to have a terrible day by what you say to them, especially in the morning, especially in families? Kid gets up excited about something and you don't approve it and you tell him shut up or tell him go, we will talk about that later. And even if you didn't say something to him negatively, that child is coming because you're excited and you crush it. What do you think happens to them in school for the rest of the day? Mommy, I want you to pay me attention. Daddy, I want you to pay me attention. Same thing happened in marriages. We have to be aware of how we respond to people. And so, after interaction with others, ask for feedback. That's a hard thing to do. Because if we were truly to go to everyone that we interact with every day and say, how did I do? It becomes a problem. So I would say that if you feel that it went bad, and I do this to Justine sometimes, how did I do today? I check in on myself. And Sister Justine here's my prayer partner and friend. And we've promised to hold each other accountable. And we do that quite often. So the last piece on this is being mindful. And I really don't like using the word mindful, so I've added staying present. Because mindfulness has this kind of a meditation thing tied to it when people hear that word. So, that's what they use, but I say stay present in the moment. And when I say stay present in the moment is considering when you are aware of your thoughts and feelings about what you're seeing. So I'm seeing all of you in here. And I'm going to pick on Cece just for a moment here. My speaker, I can pick on you. So Cece is showing her shoulders. And she may not feel like she should have done it. And I don't know it's because she's hot. I'm going to say, look at her saying that she doesn't like to show her shoulders. She's such a hypocrite. That's casting judgment rather than saying, hey, Cece, what's up today? You said you don't like showing your shoulders. Or ignoring the fact that she's fanning herself, knowing that the AC is gone. I judge her, right? Sorry, I like to pick on my friends. So practice being thoughtful and in the moment. In the moment is very important. How many of you are aware that in today's generation, the young people, even when they go on dates, both people are on their phones and not talking to each other? They're in each other's space, but the relationship is not building because you're building on social media. And so relationships get broken up. That happens in marriages. And how many of you have been talking to friends and they abandon the conversation for a phone call without saying, excuse me? So we've allowed technology to really impact us, and it's something we ought to kind of consider looking at. Just one example. So now here comes the discussion of the emotional intelligence wheel. So, I'm asking everyone, you should have gotten a book. And the reason behind that book is that your health triggers your mindset and your emotion if you're not feeding yourself with the right nutrition. And so that book is to keep your mind and your emotions healthy with all those recipes and all those helpful ideas that are inside. So, the wheel. Look at the wheel and tell yourself, don't tell me, what are you feeling right now? Do you feel bored? Sleepy? Just joking. All right, so you feel afraid, sad, happy, calm, surprised, or angry. And as you go through that inner circle, the one that you choose, you take the path and look at the 6 elements that are there to see which one suits you. Sometimes you'll find one of them. I've seen people that find all of them. So I'm going to use an easy one, which is happy. And I'm going to say that I'm happy today. I truly am happy to be here. And I am go down the path for me, and I'm going to say I feel proud. And I feel proud because my friend JoJo made an ad today that wowed me about this event. And so as Cece and I sat there and said, wow, now we're going to have to rise to that ad that she put up. And I felt good to know that my friend thought that about me, to project that ad to represent what she felt about Cece and myself. So I feel proud. I do feel proud to have a friend in JoJo and to know that that's the way she sees me. And so, yes, it says for me to reflect on my hard work. And so I do. It took a lot to get here. It took a lot to develop this talk. It took a lot to do all the things that got me here today. And so that's how I feel. Anyone wants to share? Don't be shy. You feel calm. Okay, I'm going to give you the mic, but you won't be on camera, so you can talk. Can you pass this down for me, please? Yeah, turn it on.
I feel calm.
Okay. And in the next column, what does calm lead you to?
Content.
And then, what are you going to do?
Chill, lie back, and unwind.
All right, so you're just chilling today.
Yeah, it's my
All right.
chill day.
All right. Now, I want to tell you something about your chill day. And I'm going to give you the opposite side of what people may say to chill, what they might want to do in that. The word chill has been used in so many different things, and people take it as, I'm going to chill and take a drink, which is usually alcohol, which gets them in a different space. I'm going to chill and I'm going to smoke some weed. So we always have to look at the healthy choice, the choice that you're putting yourself in, because you could have a good day, you feel calm, and everything is okay, but that choice you make about chilling could turn you upside down. So I was going to give you the other side, that when you're looking at this, be aware that you have to question the choices you end up with at the end. It may seem okay, but are you sabotaging really what you have and lose that because you made a bad choice? Anyone else? No brave ones in my audience today?
I have calm, peaceful, and enjoy.
And you're saying what? Peaceful and
Enjoy. Relish the quiet.
okay. All right. If you could pass the mic backwards.
I would say calm. I tend to read a book.
Okay. So you're going to look at a book, a good book. All right. Now, let me pick on you a little bit. A good book is subjective. How do you think that book would make you feel after you read it is important, because it could get you into a different space where you're not calm anymore. So consider that. Just food for thought. Always say, what book? Yeah, it says read a book, but what are you going to choose? Always be a little bit analytical about that choice.
I am happy. I'm grateful because I was able to accomplish a lot this morning, and I can't see myself writing a thank you note, but how I would reward myself is by watching a movie.
Okay. And I'm going to talk to you about your reward. If you watch a war movie, would you be happy at the end? Just being devil's advocate. I'm just using it as an example for everyone else and those that will watch this on the replay later on to kind of understand that it's not in a bubble. And so we have to think it through. Okay, so I'm going to move on. And we're getting into the core of what we're here to talk about, which is relationship management. So we're going to move to that slide. So what is relationship management? Relationship management is about building strong, positive connections with others by being understanding, aware of their needs, and communicating clearly. So now that we've gained some understanding about self-awareness, we're going to kind of dig deeper into this, and let's look at effective communication. And before I start leading this to you, I want to let you know that communication goes both ways. You have a receiver, right? And you have the person that is communicating. And both sides are important. The way we receive that communication can cause us to judge, misjudge a lot of times the person. So both people have to kind of assess and be aware of themselves and the other one to prevent the second thing we'll talk about, which is conflict resolution. So effective communication is clearly expressing your thoughts and feelings while also actively listening to others. What is active listening? Have you ever talked to somebody and before you're done talking, they're talking? Because you're listening to respond to you. And they quite likely have not heard everything you had to say because they had a point that they needed to get forward before you were finished with where you're going with your statement. So those are some of the things we can improve because we all do it at some points. None of us are perfect. But you can actually see when somebody has an anxiety issue by just watching the way they communicate. It's very rarely that they're able to allow you to finish if the conversation gets a little bit strong because they can't hold themselves back. And they'll tell you, no, listen to me. I said, let me finish. No, you got to listen to me. So you start thinking, okay, you know what's going on here. So in your conversation, focus on maintaining clear communication by summarizing what the other person says before your response. So Cece, what you were saying to me was that, and you repeat it. And that gives a person a chance to say, no, that's not what I meant. So if you're not sure what the person means, because sometimes what we say can have dual meaning, and you're not sure really where it's going, take the time to say it back. Is this what you meant, or is this what you meant? Because it can be taken anyway. Validate what the person is saying by saying it back to them. That reduces what we're about to talk about now, which is conflict resolution. Slide. Conflict resolution is addressing and resolving disagreements in a constructive manner. When a conflict arises, take a step back, listen to all perspective, and work towards a solution that respects everyone's needs. So, Pastor, I'm in a conflict with you, and I really don't care what you say. I'm going to satisfy my needs, and then you can go figure out what you want to do. Does that sound good to you? Mike? Mike to Pastor. How does that make you feel if somebody comes and you're in a fight with them? Not fight, but a conflict with them, and they don't want to, they just want what they want. Does that make the conflict grow bigger, or does it, how do you feel?
Certainly the conflict would escalate, but you would feel minimized because you're not taken seriously.
Okay. That can be hurtful. Yeah, that can be very, very hurtful because, and then you're left feeling, what was that all about? So, always come together to find that solution. Together. That's being emotionally aware because you're not pleasing yourself alone. There's another party involved. This is an era where a lot of marriages just don't go anywhere because everybody's fighting and standing on their own tower and no one's coming together. And so this really destroys relationships. Another area is building trust. So if somebody keeps promising they're going to do something and they don't do it, and they're consistently not doing it, and they're not being honest about why they're not doing it, you would consider them unreliable, right? Untrustworthy. So building trust is to establish trust through consistent, honest, and reliable behavior. Consistency is very, very important. And so I talked to the young people yesterday about their personal brand and who they are and their goals. And one of the things I talked to them about is to make sure that they're consistent throughout their whole life, in their personal life, their business life, with what they do, so people can stand and say, yes, this is what this person is. We see a lot of influencers out there in social media that project a brand because they have a motive to sell, to make money. And a lot of times when you look at the backdrop, that's really not who they are. And so when people find out that's not who they are, they drop them, they stop listening to them. But building trust, if you want somebody to trust you, you have to do the things that cause them to be able to find you reliable and honest. So show reliability by keeping your commitments and being transparent in your interaction with others. So that's what the solution is here. Teamwork and collaboration. Even if we don't have a job that we have teams, we have family members that we do projects with. We probably go to Christmas dinners and we pull together with food. There's always something that we can call a team. In church, you probably go to women's ministry, men's ministry, whatever it is. You can actually build teams around things that aren't really official teams. And so Teamwork is working effectively with others and valuing everyone's contribution and striving towards a common goal. So you see how that can work in any situation that you find yourself with more than one persons doing things together. So in your group project, make a conscious effort to encourage participation from all members and acknowledge their input. Have you ever worked in a team where one person hogs up all the attention? Doesn't give anybody any other recognition even though they helped you to get there? And you just took the prize and walk away? Anyone ever had that happen to them? Yeah? Doesn't feel good, right? Now here's a big thing, influence. Influence is very important. And what that is positively guiding and motivating others through your words and actions. I think we touched on that a little bit earlier about being positive. And so we can motivate others to do better, to influence them, encouraging them and push them forward in a positive way with just the way we speak to them and the way we act towards them. Children are very impressionable, and we can influence them one way or the other. And so we choose to influence for good. So watch your words and your actions with people around you, because it will determine whether or not you're going to influence them for good or bad, or whether you're not going to be able to influence them at all. A lot of children leave home and don't look back. Okay? Begin to ask those questions on why this relationship is broken. And don't ignore any signal or anything that may have been said to you in the past. When my son went away to Japan to study, I sat down and I contemplated a few things. And I realized one of the things I did, we weren't at war or anything, but I tend to reflect a lot, look at things, and if it's not perfectly how I need it to be, I start questioning myself and say, Lord, what is this? And one of the things I discovered is that I raised him well. He learned all the good things he was supposed to learn. But as a Jamaican, we have a habit of saying we don't do things that way. As Caribbean people, that's what we do. No, we don't do it that way. You're going to bring down the family name. You're going to me. Now, the things we're telling them to good lines up to do is good. They are good. They line up with the Bible. But it's not about, this is what God would have you do. It's about Janet. In my house, this simply doesn't happen. And so, when he came back home, when he came back from school, I had to say, you know what? This has been bugging me, and I decided, let's talk about it. I'm so sorry that I came down on you so often to say, this can't happen in our family. Jamaicans don't do this way. Instead of saying, it's the same thing that God wouldn't have us do, but I didn't give it to God. And so we had to unlearn that habit and relearn to point everything upwards. So it's never too late. He was already in college, and we worked through that, and we worked through, even he's older now, every single day. I listen to him. When I'm going to go talk to young people, I say, hey, your generation, tell me what their problems are. And he says, Mom, this is what you need to do. And I listen. Okay? So building back those relationships that you have lost, whether it be just friends out there, whether it be your children, even ex-spouses, whatever it is, we have to learn to try to reconnect and forgive. Identify a way to inspire, motivate someone in your circle by recognizing their strengths and potential. And so, I'm sure we're all parents here, most of us, right? Okay. So find a way to see the strengths and potential in your children. And I'm going to tell you another bad behavior. My son's on the line today. He decided he wanted to go one path down, and I'm like, over my dead body. But that's his skill. But I didn't think it was worth what my son should be doing. He's a brilliant mind. And when I was doing my master's, he was a young child, and he was smart enough to check all my papers. And I can tell you, I didn't write any of my final papers. Literally, God wrote them. Because you cannot write a 10-page paper and research in one night. And I did it like that. And the next day I would say, hey, check this for me. And as a young child, he checked it and went through very, very good at English. And I got my A's, and I'm like, Lord, thank you for writing another paper. So I saw the mind he had. And so I saw him as a replica of his mother. And if you go down that path, it's not really. And so he decided he was going to go to Japan, study, and he was going to go to the UN. And so he went to law school, and when he got to law school, he says, I can't do it. It's not what I want to do. I'm not going to do it. I said, okay, come home. Let's work it out. So, you know, we have to really learn what people's strengths and potentials are, not ours, not what we want. So I'm giving you all my bad behavior. I'm putting myself out there. And so learn from my mistakes, because we can do better. And because you're going to be, or you are emotionally intelligent, you'll recognize the things you've done that did not serve you, and you'll pivot really, really quickly. So, all right, so the next one is providing support. Providing support is offering guidance, encouragement, and help to others in their personal and professional lives. What can we do? Reach out to someone who might need support and offer your assistance or listening ear. Remember those two people I ministered to? We call the second one James, right? Okay. So James called me his mom, and I'm only 2 years older than him, because he's homeless. And when he gets into trouble, and he ends up in the hospital because he won't stop drinking and his organs are shutting down one way or the other, he picks up the phone and says, Janet, I'm in the hospital, and I show up. And I call the other guy Jack, right? Jack shows up with me. And so one of the times he got into the hospital, they were putting him out for one, because whenever he goes into the hospital, nobody shows up. And they were putting him out. So we went there this morning, and I was impressed to tell James, that's the name I use, right? No? Jack. I picked Jack. I can't call the right name, so I'm trying to figure out what I remember, what I use. So I told Jack, look, don't delay. Don't wait for me at the desk. Just go straight to the room. I'll see you. I usually don't tell him that when we do hospital visits. So when I went upstairs, James was checking out of the hospital because they told him he had to leave and they didn't find anything. So we sat there and we talked to him, and we realized that he was hallucinating. Whatever medication they gave him, was causing him to be a little bit off. And so we talked to the nurses, and we sat there with him all day until the doctor came, and they kept him. So now that somebody was paying attention to him, they had to give him the care he needed. So supporting people, no matter who they are, where they are, is always a good thing. All right, so we're going to look at problem solving, and I'm just going to go through this. I'm not going to go to it in any detail or other. So identifying the problem, we know how to identify a problem. We have problems every day. And we talked about emotional awareness. So when you find that problem, what do? You want a solution. So you write down a bunch of solutions, and you look for the best one. You pray about it, look for the best one, and then you evaluate them. That's what you're doing. And then you decide which one you're going to do, and then you implement. But after you implement, you reflect. You keep assessing. And so if we're talking about relationships, that's what you do. You have a problem in your relationship. What's really causing this? It's your fault. No, it's your fault. Come together and really identify what the true problem is. Be honest about it, and both people need to be emotionally aware to understand each other's side and express how they feel. Hey, you know what? What you did hurt me. Many of us won't admit that we're hurting or somebody did something to us. You have to be honest with yourself. Express yourself. And if both people are doing that, relationships would be much better. And so I'm going to move on from that. We're not going to dig in much further because I'm coming to the best slides ever. We're going to talk about the power of forgiveness in our daily lives. And this is where I want you to read. So those that came in a little bit late, I said, you're going to get a lot of slides. I'm going to interact with you during this presentation because I want your brain to be alert, and I want you to take your brain 3 different places. You're going to see it on the screen. You're going to read it, which is 2, and you're going to listen to me read it. That gives you an opportunity to really, really remember the material. And if there's, I did say as well that if there's any piece of the presentation that you need, ask me, and I'll be happy to lend it to you. So, we have explored some of the competencies of emotional intelligence and their impact on relationships. Now we're exploring the transformative power of forgiveness, not as a distant ideal, but as a practical tool that can enrich our daily lives, whether it's forgiving oneself, reconciling with the family, mending personal relationships, or improving dynamics with colleagues. Forgiveness can serve as a foundation for personal growth and healthier interactions. Forgiveness is a profound act of personal liberation. When you hear of liberation, what do you think of? One person, freedom. You say, how can forgiveness free me? Let's keep going. Particularly when directed inwards, towards family members, personal relationships, and colleagues. It is not about forgetting the past or excusing harmful actions, but rather about releasing the grip of resentment, anger, and bitterness that can poison one's well-being and relationships. Research and personal accounts consistently show that forgiving others, especially those close to us, leads to significant psychological and physiological benefits, including reduced stress, anxiety, and depression, as well as improved emotional health and stronger interpersonal connections. What did they say? Stronger interpersonal connections. That's how powerful forgiveness is. Crucially, forgiveness is a process, not a single event, and it begins with a conscious decision to let go of ill will, even if the other person does not change or apologize. Any thoughts on that? Any question? This is so important that I don't want to move forward unless I know that you at least understand what this is saying to you. Nod of heads? Okay, good job. All right, forgiving yourself. Forgiving oneself, perhaps the most challenging form of forgiveness. It's essential to understand that everyone makes mistakes. Our lives are shaped as much by our failures as our success. Recognizing this can shift our self-perception from harsh judgment to compassionate understanding. Who here have been able to meet someone that is so hard on themselves that they can't forgive? Anyone? They just keep saying, I'm worthless, I can't do anything right, I mess up every day. I've even met kids that say that because their parents tell them that you're stupid, you're worthless, you can never do anything right, and so they grow up self-hate because they cannot do anything right. Right, so now we're going to read into it some more. Who's reading with me? Can you see it? Okay. I'm going to let you stand up for a moment because it's hot. And just, everybody stand for a moment. It's really hard with the AC broken and sitting the whole time. Stretch. And Cece took the lead. She took a stroll down the hallway. All right. You can sit when you're ready to sit, or you can stand. I'm okay with it. I'm going to go on. Forgiving oneself is often the most challenging form of forgiveness. It involves recognizing that one's mind is not always under full control and that past actions, even harmful ones, can be understood with compassion rather than self-condemnation. This self-compassion and shame to learning and growth enables a person to move forward without being trapped by the past. This process involves first acceptance of imperfection, acknowledge that being human means navigating imperfection. Use your mistakes as stepping stones for growth rather than shackles that hold you back. Number 2, learning and growth. Every misstep teaches a lesson. Reflect on what went wrong, why it happened, and what can be done differently in the future. This reflection transforms regret into a powerful learning experience, paving the way for personal development. Any thoughts? Do you believe this to be true, or do you oppose it, or are opposed to it? Think about it. You made a mistake when you were driving down the highway. You made a right turn down the road that you know you should never go down because it was a shortcut, and you got in trouble. What are you going to tell your kids when they try to do that? Why? Because you learned something from your mistake and you grew never to take that road again, and you told someone else. Simple things like that. But if we can also do it with the big things, right? Okay, so we're almost getting to the finish line. Forgiveness in families. Family relationships are complex. As places of deep emotional connection, homes often serve as both safe havens and arenas for conflict. Forgiveness within the family can foster stronger bonds and create a nurturing environment. And you already have my story. So we can rush through this one. Forgiving family members requires acknowledging the pain caused while choosing not to let that pain define the relationship. It does not mean reconciling or reestablishing the same level of trust, but rather releasing the emotional burden that the past inflicts on the present. This process can create space for healing, even if the relationship remains distant or changed, and allows individuals to reclaim their emotional power. The process involves understanding and empathy. To forgive family members, try to see things from their perspective. Understanding their motives and struggles can generate empathy and pave the way for healing. So this takes communication. We talked about that before. Be honest with yourself about how you feel and invite a conversation rather than attack each other. That's really, really important. You know, as parents, and I'm going to pick on myself, sometimes we're not very good at telling our children or our spouse or our friends, our brothers and our sisters, how you're feeling. And how are you going to be able to communicate and build common ground? So somebody hurts you, and you just don't tell them, and you keep keeping the peace, and you're hurting and burning up inside. Keeping the peace is great, but if you're hurting, say something. You know how many people die of heart attack simply because they have unresolved issues? You know how many people get cancer because they're in a toxic marriage and don't know how to get out? They can't say to someone, help. Stress will kill you. Okay? Seriously. Talk about your hurts. Find somebody to talk to. Go to a therapist. Talk to a friend. And learn to forgive. You know what the Bible tells us to do? That those that use you and continually abuse you, pray for them. Do you know you can't pray for someone and hate them? It's impossible. If you truly want to see them rise above the things that they do, because it would simply make them a better person, they've hurt you, pray for them. Healing comes through prayer. Communication. We just talked about that. Open dialogue is critical. Expressing your feelings and listening to theirs can resolve misunderstanding and build mutual respect. Forgiveness in personal relationships. Move into personal relationships. Forgiveness can help us rebuild trust, and connections, steering our bonds away from resentment and towards love and understanding. No explanation needed there, right? In personal relationships, forgiveness is essential for maintaining healthy connections. It involves recognizing the hurt, naming the pain. Oh, I'm not feeling well today. I have a headache. Well, what caused it, really? You seem to be having a lot of migraines these days. What's going on? Oh, I'm all right. You're not naming the pain. And being honest in relationships that you're hurting and the reason why will bring you resolution. Okay, so the process to doing some of this now is through professional growth, recognizing that colleagues like yourself are prone to error, forgiving mistakes, support a growth culture where learning is celebrated over blame. And then you have building team cohesion. By fostering an environment where forgiveness is practiced, teams become more cohesive, reducing stress and improving collaborative effort. Forgiveness among colleagues. In professional setting, forgiveness is often overlooked, but can significantly enhance collaboration and productivity. This process involves valuing the relationship, assessing the importance of the relationship in your life. Often, the value of the relationship outweighs the temporary discomfort of harboring resentment. Reconciliation practices. Practice reconciliation by addressing grievances directly rather than letting them fester. Clear, honest communication can rekindle the partnership and reinforce commitment. So, emotional empowerment matters. This is where we started. And so we're back to the beginning in summary. Ultimately, forgiveness is a gift one gives to oneself. It is not dependent on the other person's actions or apologies, but on one's own willingness to release the emotional weights of the past. As such, it is a powerful tool for personal freedom, emotional resilience, and the cultivation of healthier, more authentic relationships across all areas of your life. So this evening, we're left with one question on the table. Are we willing to forgive? Emotional empowerment matters and will cause us to find a true alignment with how we connect vertically, our relationship with Christ, and horizontally, our relationship with humanity, and truly understand how to worship God in spirit and truth while serving one another unto salvation. This all begins with understanding who we are and whose we are. The first step is becoming emotionally aware. And before I close, I want to say this to you. A lot of our members in our churches are stuck because they don't understand how to build a true relationship with God upwards. They grew up this way, it becomes a culture, and it's okay. They're not aware that they're really not growing, and from year to year you see the same person and there's no growth. Emotional awareness matters in every aspect of your life. And when you see your peers in school, in church, not growing, consider bringing them the idea of being emotionally aware. Because if you're not aware, you can't change, and you think you're okay. So I want to leave everyone with this idea today, to learn more about what emotional awareness is and building relationships, because it's important where we are today that we build relationships as we move forward. We know what the last days look like. How are we going to lead our family along if we can't first build the relationships and be aware of how to manage those with as little conflict as possible? And with that, my time is up. Thank you so much. If you want to connect with me, you can go to lifewithjan.com, and I believe that information is in your book. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful. I know it was long. Also know that it's hot, and it's difficult to not move around in heat. Thanks again for listening. I think we're taking a break for 10 minutes, catch some water, and the next person you will see is my friend Cece, the amazing TEDx speaker that will make you laugh more than you want to. But it's good, right? So 10 minutes, grab some water, it's hot, and you want to be ready for what she's coming with.
Sounds at me. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Good evening, everyone. I'm back here, but I'm going to introduce our next speaker, my friend, the amazing Cece Espute. And I'm going to ask her when she comes up here to tell you a little bit about her name and what it means to her. Amazing. All right, a little bit about my friend here. Cece Espute is a multi-talented powerhouse who brings her storytelling expertise as a former U.S. Marine, author, photographer, 2-time TEDx speaker, and a 5-time distinguished Toastmaster. She is the executive director of TEDx Miramar, which is in Florida, and has been with that organization since 2014. Cece holds a Bachelor of Arts in Industrial Organization Psychology with an emphasis on change management and personal development from Florida International University, that's FIU. By studying this fascinating field, she aims to make a positive impact on the world of work. Do you hear with that some change management and some transformation with people and processes there? You're right up my line. Her life is centered on three core values: God, family, and education. She's a mother of 2 and the grandmother of 6 and the grandmother of 3 amazing boys. Does she look like a great-grandmother to you? Welcome, Cece, to the stage. And she's going to come to the stage on video.
So, any time that I'm introduced as a former U.S. Marine, honestly, I get a little nauseous. Because you see, I made some really bad mistakes right at the end of my career, and I ended up in prison for drug conspiracy. So while I'm a former U.S. Marine, I'm also a former inmate. Now, right about now, somebody who hasn't been paying attention, they're going like, what did she say? Did she say playmate? And yes, while I like to think I could have been a playmate, no, I actually said inmate. I spent almost a year in solitary confinement, 23 hours a day in a cell. And on April 1st, 1999, the guard opened up the gate and said, "You're being released." And I sat there. It's April Fool's. I'm not going anywhere. And he's like, "No, you really do have to leave." And as I was walking through the gate, a guard very pleasantly said to me, "See you soon." Yeah. Now, back then, I had really, really big hair, and my head was bobbing, and I was like, "What? Are you coming to Miami?" Now, what she said was, 96% of all inmates violate their probation within the first year and come back. What I heard was that I had a 4% opportunity to succeed. Thank you. And I was amazed because before that point, I don't know that I even knew I had a choice. But instantly, I made up my mind that I was never, ever, ever going to go back to prison. It was a choice I made. Now, according to a 2012 Department of Justice survey, it says that 1 out of every 3 Americans has a criminal record. Yeah. So if you look to your left, go ahead and look. And then to your right, 1 of the 3 of you has ridden in the back of a police car. Yep. Now, if it's not one of you, it's probably a parent, a sibling, a spouse, a child, or a friend. And the revolving door, when people keep going back to prison, it's called recidivism. That's the technical term for it. And it's defined as a criminal's tendency to commit another crime within the first year, the recidivism rate. And law enforcement agencies use this recidivism rate to determine how many personnel they should hire for a particular area, and rightly so. But they also use this with things like somebody's prior criminal history and certain other guidelines to determine when, where, and what type of crime somebody will commit. It's crazy that they can actually have algorithms that can predict this. And when I'm talking about other guidelines, it's things like, is somebody sleeping on a couch or in a bedroom? Do they have adequate food and water and clothing? Do they have a job with a livable wage? Do they have the support of their friends and family? Because somebody who's sleeping on their mother's couch and does not have a job is more likely to commit the same type of crime that they originally committed in a neighborhood that they're familiar with within 4 to 6 weeks of being released from prison. Now, coincidentally, that 4 to 6 week time period, that's right around the time that their mother is asking them to help with the monthly bills. It's very easy to slip back into that life of crime. So I know somebody is out there asking, why does it matter? Why should you care whether somebody gets a second chance or not? Well, there are 3 reasons. Number 1, if somebody gets a second chance and they stay out of prison, we have safer neighborhoods. It helps to hold the family intact. And then the 3rd reason is that it gives them credibility with their peers and in their communities. It has a butterfly effect. And so when they go back and they start talking to their peers and saying, like, no, you should not do this, if they've been given a second chance, their peers understand them. They relate more to them. Now, I was given a second chance in 2012 when I was granted a pardon by Florida Governor Rick Scott. And so now, when I talk to people about getting their records sealed or expunged or pardoned, I know what I'm talking about. I know that if you have a 4% chance, it's a big enough chance that if you take it, it makes a difference. And remember when I said that I was never, ever, 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 ever going to go back to prison? I go back 2-3 times a month now and talk to other people and talk to inmates and let them know that they've got that 4% chance.
Okay, hi. All right, so for those of you that met me earlier today, when I was having like an anxiety attack out there, that was the reason why. Because I knew that Erica and Danelle were going to meet me and they were going to see that. And I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, they're going to judge me. Let me tell you, I don't know whether I was having a hot flash, ladies, or what, but I could have, listen, the AC couldn't get cold enough for me, all right? And so that was part of my anxiety beforehand, because people look at other people, and they think that there's nothing wrong, right? And they don't know that we all have a little something. Now, I am the queen, or I was the queen of bad decisions when I was younger, all right? I went to Catholic school. That just was the big setup for me. I have 47 first cousins that are boys. And myself and my two other female cousins were the oldest. All the boys came after. So I always had Napoleon syndrome because I'm short, always felt like I needed to keep up with them. If they said something, I was like, ooh, yeah, let's try it. And so I spent my teenage years in my early 20s just making bad decisions, all right? Now, one of the things when Janet was talking, she was talking about family conflicts and forgiveness and things like that. That whole video plays right into family conflict, judgment, shame, regret, and pretty much all those things, well, not all of them, but quite a few of them that I started experiencing during that time. And so while I'm using the situation of going to prison, divorce is the same thing, a failed business, dropping out of school, or any other bad decision that you may make, or life situation that you may have, you all feel the same emotions, all right? So even take something like divorce, or your marriage not going quite the way you want it to go, depending on the the culture and your family dynamics, that can be like a really tough thing, you know? So not only for me, myself, was I incarcerated, but I got married outside of my culture, and then we had the nerve to get divorced. Let me tell you, my parents, my brothers, they were like, yeah, we told you, you were wrong, you should have never done it. I'm like, but you weren't there for me. You know, we never had those conversations. And mind you, he was a great guy. We just were not good for each other, all right? And we laugh about that all the time. He's a fantastic guy, and if any of you are single, I can hook you up because he's a great guy. He's a good provider. He looks good. You can take him out. You know, he knows how to eat with a knife and fork. We just were not good for each other, right? So I started going through a lot of these emotions. And for me, when we were talking earlier, I was saying, I don't even remember which one I was saying. Guilty. That's what I was feeling. I was feeling guilty. And I was feeling a lot of shame, all right? Because when we're talking to, you know, your family dynamics, what they expect of you, you know, and then you just go off your own way. Like Janet was saying, her son just went off and did his own thing. And of course, that's not the same situation because her son is perfect. I love him. Jamie, he's like, I'd adopt him any day. So don't put him out because I'm going to take him in. But for me, it was a lot of shame involved, right? And even now, when I call my mother and she goes, what are you doing? And I go, oh, Ma, I'm going out. I met this guy. I'm going out. We're going to go lunch, going to go to dinner. My mother lives in Orlando, which is about 3.5 hours from me. My mother whispers on the phone and she goes, shh, don't tell him you've been to prison. I'm like, Ma, that's my calling card. You know, that's my calling card. Plus, it's on YouTube. Like, so if you Google me, that's going to come right up. And I said, Mom, I kind of lead with that story because I want people to know not to mess with me. You know, I'm a former U.S. Marine, and I've been to prison. Like, I'm not the person you want to mess with. You know, go mess with somebody else because I can hide some bodies, you know, which, you know, is probably not something you want to talk about in polite company, right? So, okay, so I'm starting to sweat again because there I'm going down the wrong track. But, you know, so the shame came about like that. And I remember even when I was going to do that talk, now, when you're going to do a TEDx talk, you just don't roll out of bed and do it. They choose you 6 to 8 months in advance, and you practice almost every week. And so this is something we have been practicing, and the theme that year was reinventing yourself. I'm a photographer by nature and a videographer, do TV and video production. So everybody thought I was going to talk about a makeover, not realizing that I was going to come out, because I've been working with people for years, and they did not know about that, because I use the camera as a buffer between me and them. Because as Jojo will attest, people don't care about the background of the photographer. They just want to know, are they going to get their pictures and their videos on time? So for me, it was perfect. And that was my coming out video. And my mother called me and she said, my church sisters told me that you're going to get up on stage and embarrass us. Please don't. I've been working for like 8 months on this. And I was like, well, who are your church sisters? Like, tell me, name names. You know, she's like, no, I'm not going to say anything. And I was like, well, why? Because when I was sitting in solitary confinement for almost a year, nobody brought me cigarettes, which, by the way, I don't smoke, but cigarettes, that's the currency in prison. Like, nobody gave me cigarettes. Nobody came to visit me. But now, I'm going to embarrass you? I said, name names. Because if we're going to be embarrassed and ashamed, we're going to all be embarrassed and ashamed together, right? And what I learned from that is that shame only grows in the dark. Once you come out and you say it, and it hits, the light of day hits it, then the healing process starts, right? Because we don't know, if you think of shame as, what am I saying here? Like, if you need to be healed from something, if you've got a problem, if you don't tell anybody, nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to be able to help you with it. And so here I was, after the fact, living a lie, and I got out in 2000. Actually, I got it out in 1999. I've been working as a photographer, as a part of the production crew, for years. I had been amongst big-name people, and none of them ever knew anything more about me other than my name, and that I would show up and get the job done. So from 1999 to 2012, that's all they knew about me. 2012, I got my pardon from Governor Rick Scott, that's a whole nother thing, because he's a Republican and doesn't necessarily like people like me. And by that I mean with short curly hair, nothing else. I'm not saying anything. He gave me a pardon. And it was at that point that I decided to come out. And I have to tell you this, my ex-husband, he was in trouble too. And so I went through a process to see what did I need to do to correct my behavior, my lifestyle, so that I would never go back to prison. And I think on slide 13, they were showing, it was saying, Jan, can we bring up slide 13? But anyway, it was the slide that had all the little boxes about conflict and changing your behavior and all of those things. And so what I did, so we were there talking about recognizing your emotions and understanding triggers and self-reflection. Well, remember I said I didn't want to go back to prison. And there's a whole story behind that, because going to prison is not like, it's not a 2-hour movie on Lifetime television. You know, it doesn't end after 2 hours. And I was telling some of the other ladies, men, close your ears, but they don't give you underwear, okay? So it's like, it's not as cute. It's not, you just don't want to go. If you've gone once, you probably don't want to go again. So I recognize that emotion in myself, not wanting to go back and understanding the triggers, because remember I said I made bad decisions? Yeah, you know, I could make a bad decision and go back, because even at this point, if something were to happen, say I'm driving down the road with you, and I'm not saying you're doing anything, but suppose there's contraband in the car from, we drive in a rental. There happens to be contraband in the car, automatically the police are going to assume it's mine. All right? They're not going to look at anybody else. I could be riding with a mass murderer, nothing. They're going to automatically assume it was me. So knowing things that would send me back to prison, I decided, okay, I need to change my lifestyle. Those bad decisions, they may be cute when you're young, but not when you're older. So talking about understanding my triggers, the people that I hung out with, and doing some self-reflection. Was that the kind of lifestyle I really wanted to lead? And it's like, no, because guess what? I don't look good in orange. And yeah, orange is not my color. I hate that TV show. I will never watch it. Orange is the new black? Yeah, I will not wear orange anything, like anything at all. But, so it's about knowing yourself, you know, and understanding what your triggers are. So if you like to hang out with your friends on a Saturday night on the corner, drinking, smoking, probably not going to end well for you Sunday morning. It's just a given fact. And so it's being self-aware, emotionally intelligent. What do you want out of life? All right? But, so we're talking about my incarceration. But, so just throw out a situation, because any of the things that I'm talking about, we can apply it to any situation in life. So it doesn't have to be your situation, but say it could be one of those, you know, when I said look to your left, look to your right, one of the, all right. Can anybody give me, or does anybody want to share a situation that might have ended badly for somebody? And you don't have to name names. All right, I'll give you a perfect one. Lady calls me up. She goes, little Johnny got in trouble, but he wasn't doing anything wrong. I'm like, really? What happened? She said, he was in the park smoking. No, he was in the park with his friends, and the police rolled up on him, and he had something in his pocket. I was like, really? Really? What time was it? What day was it? What time was it? Oh, it was 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. I'm like, little Johnny shouldn't have been in school? Like, really? Really? That mother was not self-aware. And then she goes, oh, well, they gave him a drug test, and he popped positive. But he had gone to McDonald's and had a sesame seed bun. I was like, come on, do you realize how many sesame seeds, how many poppy seeds you'd have to eat to pop positive on a drug test? A Volkswagen. A Volkswagen load of poppy seeds. Now, I don't know anybody here who's eaten it's just not done, right? But in her mind, like, little Johnny was perfect. All right, so I was like, yeah, maybe not. No, and so a lot of what happens now is parents will call me and they will say, little Johnny, little Susie got caught up. Can you help them? Can you help them get through the system so that they either get their records sealed or expunged or pardoned? And when we're asking questions, you can tell that they're not self-aware. They have no idea of what's going on in their kids' lives. And they have no idea what their partners are doing or anything like that. So even in the simplest things, you have to be self-aware. You have to realize the impact that it has on others. Because when a man goes to prison, okay. But when a woman goes to prison, it's a whole different thing. Because then she loses her kids, and she comes back and she probably cannot get them back. Thank you. See, the anxiety's kicking again. I'm like sweating. I'm gonna start. No, okay. So it's the same thing. Like if a woman gets divorced, take your kids with you. Take your kids with you. Possession is 9/10 of the law. If you've got the kids, then the court can't give them to the husband, all right? Because then it's just a whole different set of things that you have to go through, okay? So that's kind of what I want to say is that, what Janet had put up there is so very, very important. The impact on others when you make those bad decisions, being mindful and staying present. What are you doing? What are you bringing to the table? All right. So anybody got any questions for me? And I'll tell you this, don't ask me what I did to end up in prison, because then I'll have to kill you, and then I'll go back and, so you can ask me anything else. You can ask me anything else. So, you'll trigger me. Anybody have any questions? I know somebody got a question for me. All right. What my name means. Okay, all right. When JoJo sent us the video this morning, I was so ecstatic because they pronounced my name right. All right, I was like, oh, they pronounced my name right. I'm special. So if you just think about the word Cici, in Spanish, it means yes, right? Espieu comes from the French word meaning it's possible. So I'm like, yeah, my parents must have been on some good drugs. When, oh, okay, I'm sorry, did I say that? My mother must have been having, an epidural or something? Because they named me, yes, it's possible. And so when I was growing up and I realized that, I was like, oh, that means I can try anything. And that led to the bad decisions and all of that. So, blame it on your parents. I mean, that, but yeah, so that's my name. But when they pronounced my name right in the video, I was like, oh my God, they like me. I was so happy. But yeah, so one of the things I do is people will call me up and they'll ask me how to get their records sealed or expunged, or, they've been incarcerated, what do they do? And it's usually the families that call me. And I take them through a whole process, and asking them questions, telling them what to do, and what have you. When I did it on myself and it worked, I was like, okay, I need a guinea pig. And the perfect guinea pig was my ex-husband. So I did. I tried it with him, and it worked. And so then I realized, oh, yeah, now I've got a system, right? And it's just being very, very mindful, understanding what do you want out of life. Okay, what do you want? And then being focused on that. What do you want? When I was going to Catholic school, that was the time when Jamaica was in a political upheaval. And fathers were leaving their families, they were committing suicide. It was horrible. And I remember the nun, Sister Marie Claire, she got us all together and she had us under the stairwell. And she goes, okay, this is not the end. This is not the end. Either what your fathers are doing, either they're acting right or they're not. So that you know that when you grow up and you have a husband or a family, what do you want? Either you want what you've got now or you want something else. And that's how you make the decision. of when to stay and when to leave or anything like that. She said, but you've got to decide, what do you want, right? You can't just be out here just willy-nilly in it. So, yeah, but that's about it. So
thank you, Cece.
short and sweet, right?
I'm not done with her yet.
Oh, yes. I'm done. Erica, unhook me. Unhook me, Erica.
We did a mental health awareness program together with another friend of ours that's a psychologist in 2019. And we did it in the mayor's chambers in Miramar. And we had a few people there that suffer from anxiety, depression, and have gone through some hard times. We decided to kick it off. We promised we would continue it every year, but due to COVID, we never continued. And some of the questions I asked you there, Cece, in the interview, I want to ask you today. Because, and I want you to listen. You were incarcerated and you were locked up and you did not become mentally ill. What helped you to move forward?
I get asked that question a lot. And so according to my ex-husband, yes, I am crazy. But I know that's not the answer she wanted, but okay, so what helped me not to become? So believe it or not, I'm Catholic, and in Catholic school, Catholic church, we don't read the Bible. I know. We don't read the Bible. The Bible is read to us, okay? So it's not that we don't know the Bible. We've just never read the Bible. Like sitting in the pews, we just don't. Right, now that's changed, but back then that's how it was. So I was allowed to have 2 books. The Bible was one of them, and then whatever other book I wanted from the library, and I just read the Bible. Didn't understand what I was reading, but I read it, and I had enough time that I could read it again and again and gain some kind of understanding. So I would think that probably had a lot to do with it. Plus, I've got to tell you this. I was so fast and loose that I think the only thing God could have done with me was to put me by myself so that I would have no option but to come to know myself, if that makes sense. Because people go how did you end up in solitary confinement? Nobody goes there. I'm yeah, from day one, they put me there. They were yeah, you're a troublemaker, so you're going to go there. But I think, having that Bible was probably a good thing. Yeah.
So, Cece is here because of our journey. And I wanted us to look at, no matter where we are, if you're emotionally intelligent enough, you can rise above it through relationships and emotional intelligence. Here it is, locked up in prison. And today, she came out, built relationships, figured out how to get herself straight all by herself. Family rejection, she was alone. She decided she wasn't going to go back. She knew what she wanted. She knew who she was and who she wanted to be. And today, she stands tall.
Short, 5 feet. I'm 5 feet.
She stands tall in a position that many people crave because she was determined, and her story led her to become a great speaker. That voice that she gave, that voice she took. So what I want to say from Cece's story, if she can do it, anyone can do it. The biggest points of having Cece here today is sometimes we hide who we are. We have children that probably went to jail. What do we do with them? Do we do what Cece's parents did? Are we going to help them through the process? We have kids that are on drug. We have kids that have murdered. in our space, we just don't know what the next person sitting to you, what their child has been involved in and what they are involved in. But how do we view people that we know have gotten into trouble? I know some of us that are divorced, sometimes we're disenfranchised and looked down on like, well, why did you do it? But nobody knows what you're in, and they don't understand where you need to be or desire to be. And so when you walk away, you're pushed to the side. You have people that have made different choices in life that we marginalized. But is that what God asked us to do? We're ashamed of our past. And every mistake that we get into, every challenge we get, he says that we should count it all joy when we're tempted, right? God doesn't allow anything in our space to happen. He could have said, you know, Cece, I love you, you're not going to jail. But sitting down for 1 year in solitary confinement with the Bible, not understanding most of what she read, she wasn't let out. And that amazed me at the power of the brain and self-will. So I want to say to you today, no matter what challenge you're going through when you have decisions to make, remember Cece and what emotional awareness did for her. That example can help you to think of your family when they get in trouble. Are you going to marginalize them? Or are you going to embrace them? What would Jesus do? Guess what? We're all broken, stupid. And he said, it doesn't matter. I'm going to die for you anyway because I love you. And he gave up his life for us. So why do we treat others that way? Forgiveness is important. Forgiveness is important. Culture is important because sometimes the culture we live in as Caribbean people and many other, we're all Caribbean people here, so that's why I refer to that for those that may be watching online or the replay. Look at your own cultures. We have certain things that we hold on to, like the Holy Grail. And it hugs us to a point where sometimes we forget that God is above everything. So today I want you to feel free to ask us anything. We're here to answer your questions. We've all had our journeys. And if you wish to share your journey, to educate us on things that we don't know about, we welcome that. I've been charged with building an emotionally intelligent community. That means everyone I talk to, I try to understand who they are, and I try to minister to them. It's just a passion of mine right now to say, when the last days come, and we can't buy food. We see already the country is shut down, right? And Cece tells me today, because she's an ex-Marine, it affects her income. And my joke to her was, okay, girl, go and let them pile it up. When they release all your funds, I'm coming over. You know, we make light of things. And, you know, laughter is healing. But it's not easy. We still hold on. And we know that there's this digital currency that we're seeing. Jamaica already has it implemented. Guyana already has it implemented. And we see in the backdrop that in America, it's coming. What does that mean to what we believe? Think about it. If you're not emotionally intelligent and you can't build the stamina that you need to build to stand firm and say, I will not bow like Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel, what's going to happen to us? Are we going to compromise what we believe in just because we can't get food? This is what this is all about at the end of the day. What choices will you make when your back is against the wall? This is not something you can learn overnight. It takes time. Emotional intelligence was a 3-month course for me in college. I practiced it for 20 years in my career, and I forgot about it because it was so baked in my brain that I don't have to think that the first thing I do, that I need, what's going on here, Janet, with you? I have conversations with myself. I just don't answer. I'll say, okay, you did this today. What mood were you in? Because you can't do that again. One, you embarrassed yourself and you embarrassed the other person. I talk to myself every day. I have to consider, and I will go and I'll apologize and say, you know what, I did something and it really bothered me. And the person will say, I didn't notice, but if it bothers me, it matters. Right? So what I'm saying to you is, you got a little snippet, which is basically 2 skills from the 12 skills series with a little peek of one other, which is problem solving. Don't stop here. We can all become better. We can all make better decisions, and this is just the first step to making good decisions and having emotional stamina. Any questions?
You can just give it to me.
No? I think we addressed a lot of things through the talk. But if there are no more questions, I will ask Cece and Justine and Jojo to come up and join me as we close.
Are you sure talk? Are you?
We're a happy group. So, all of us made it happen with the help of God. I chose Cece because Cece knows how to deliver with humor. Don't take half of what she says serious. She's laughing. But she knows how to bring humor to the conversation that is serious. Some people might like it, some people don't. But if you can laugh, even at something simple, you're already healing. I think I mentioned it before, those that came. No one walks away without this book today. Because my desire for each and every one of you here today is to be healthy. Physically, mentally, emotionally. And what you put in your body affects your mind and your emotions. So please make sure you have one if you haven't gotten it yet. And where does this journey go? The next talk that I've been given to do is on the mind. And I'm hoping that will be within the next 3 months. Haven't thought of it yet because I've also been given a summit. And the summit will be here in St. Croix. By the grace of God. It will be in April, end of April to the beginning of May. The website's already up. I am just in the process of getting the speakers to give me their bio so I can put it up. Now, when that is launched, Cece, Georgia did such an amazing job today with the ad. Justine, by the way, Justine and Jojo are sisters, right? So, you're going to be doing the ad before we launch the site, so beware. So, I thank each and every one of you for coming, but I first wanted to talk to Jojo. This woman here is amazing. No, she can stand there. Camera has her. They're seeing her face. Amazing job in helping us put this together and push it forward. I've never seen anyone work without sleep because my imagination, I don't know how she finds time to sleep, and she still keeps going. So God bless you, and may He keep you in the palm of your hands every moment of the day. Justine, you're amazing. I know. I could not have planned any of this knowing that you have my back while I'm doing the project management side and the visioning and all of that. I can say, here are my speakers. And she executes. Here's the timeline I've been given. She communicates. And so she's the backbone behind this project and will continue to be. She's not going anywhere. And Cece?
I'm leaving. I'm going. I'm leaving. No, okay.
I needed your story to be shocking. Because in my ecosystem, we don't hear people talking about this that we can identify with. So it's really, really important for you to be here for that shock effect. And I'm a little bit sad that I don't have some of the younger folks in here to listen to the path that they could end up if they don't pay attention. But she's willing to share. And I know sometimes that laughter behind it can be pain. I recognize that, so it's not easy. But you're not afraid to tell your story. And I thank you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable. So with that said, thank you all for coming. The replay is still available online, and it will stay available perpetually. So if you think that this is worth listening by anyone, that anyone can benefit with it, the link still works, and I will not take it down. I don't think I'll get Cece to come back and be this vulnerable, so I may as well keep it up. Besides, I've given you 2.5 skills, and so it's going to be a building block. So someone coming in should be able to pull the next block when I push out. Master your mind, master your life. So if you'll stand with me today. I ask you to pray for us on this journey. And I ask you to take the walk with us as we build an emotionally intelligent community. Justine will pray for us. You haven't heard her gentle voice yet, right? Her soothing voice that Cece says that she's going to get her to do some voiceover for children's book because her voice is so calming. Come on up, my sister. I did warn her too, right?
Let's bow our head and close our eyes. Eternal God and Father, we just want to thank you so much for this presentation, this event that has touched our lives, dear Lord, and may we continue to foster what we have learned. Lord, may it be embedded in our hearts and mind, that we may be emotionally intelligent as we grow in grace and in the knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We thank you for blessing us and keeping us and shining your face upon us and being gracious unto us. Lord, with your countenance shined upon us, Lord, we can experience peace, we can experience joy, we can experience love, we can experience all the positive emotions and cast out all fear, all guilt, dear Lord, all anxiety, all stress, dear Lord, anything that is negative. So may we continue to focus on the things that are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, dear Lord, of good report. May we focus on the things that are virtuous and praiseworthy, that we can truly be emotionally intelligent, aware of our circumstances, and stand firm and stand committed. Living by faith, dear Lord, and not by sight. Lord, thank you for what you have done and what you will continue to do for each person represented here. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
Thank you again for coming. If you want to connect with me, you can go to lifewithjan.com. I have a community that is already set up there to continue the process. There'll be free events in there. You can ask me anything, and there will be resources in there to help us grow together. Have a good evening. God bless you. See you next time.